This is we've been talking about UFC 298, but we didn't talk about Ian Garry versus Geoff Neal, this fight coming up. So I thought we could chat about it a little bit because this is a fight I'm really excited about. I think there's a good amount of hype. He did that whole thing where he's talking smack. He blew up his DUI picture, which is whatever, but it was at least got people talking. What do you think about this matchup and this fight that's going down in about a week and a half?
Hey, man, I know everyone's counting Geoff Neal out of this. Do not count. He's an old school, tough vet, man. I'm trying to think of that fight that we just watched, man. I'm in a brain fog. It's fight week, guys, so forgive me for not remembering every fighter's name off the get. You know who I'm talking about.
Neil Magny.
Neil Magny, dude.
Yeah.
Geoff Neal and Neil Magny to me are so similar. They're old school vets that have been around for a long time. Regardless of who they're fighting, they always show up. They always made weight. They're always professional, and they're always in the fight. You know, you look at Neil Magny, man, losing, fucking 14 minutes of that fight and to come for the finish in the last 10 seconds is just incredible. Ian Garry, on the other hand, rising up and comer, hotter than the sun right now. But with that being said, all eyes on him. He has all the pressure on him right now. He's supposed to win this fight. The UFC narrative wants him to win this fight. That's why they're giving him a Geoff Neal, an older fighter that's, maybe on his downfall. With that being said, don't count these guys out. These guys still know how to fight. They're not the same fighter they were at one time, but they're still tough. They're still in the UFC. What's Geoff Neal's last 5 fights?
I just had it pulled up. Good. He lost to Stephen Thompson, lost to Neil Magny. He beat Santiago Ponzinibbio and beat Vicente Luque. That's amazing. I didn't even remember that. And he lost to Shavkat in 2023. But I mean, it's Shavkat,
Dude, we're talking. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's fighting top world contenders. What this fight's going to come down to is is Ian Garry the real deal? Can he show up when he's supposed to win? It's easy when you're the underdog. If you have a lot of hype coming in, hey man, this guy's fucking tough. He's coming up. He's going to put up a good fight. This is supposed to be a blowout. He's supposed to not finish him in the first round. Ian Garry's supposed to finish Geoff Neal in the first round, in my opinion. At least that's what I think. That's why they're giving him Geoff Neal. But again, as I'm always rooting for the underdog, I'm always going to root for the guy that's been around. There's nothing I like more than someone like Geoff Neal coming in and knocking down Ian Garry's parade. With that being said, I would like Ian Garry to win for the business because it's going to give him a little star power, and we're going to have better interviews, better pre-fight press conferences. Those are important to me. The fight is great, but 100%. The build-up to me is incredible. Like with the UFC embedded, the pre-fight press conferences, the interviews. Ian Garry has all those tools, but he's going to have to put everything together to beat Geoff Neal. I don't think it's going to be a walkthrough fight like he thinks it's going to be.
No, I think I agree with you. By the way, you said Geoff Neal's older. He's only 33. To me that still feels pretty young, right?
Man, I look at guys like Geoff Neal and I don't see him as 33, man. It's fucking that's crazy that he's younger than me. He's a year younger than me. I never would have guessed that. The guy, I mean, when did he get to the UFC? What year?
Well, his first professional fight was in 2012, but that wasn't in the UFC. His first fight in Dana White's Contender Series was in 2017. So he's been in the UFC for about 7 years.
I mean, that's when I talk about age. That's the kind of age I'm talking about, man. Being in the UFC for a long time, man. I was in the UFC for 2 years, dude. It's because, again, there's no easy fights. Even when you're fighting fights you're supposed to win, like guys always I always talk about, even when you win, you get fucked up. Like you take damage, and it's always, hey, how much damage? Like for me, it's how much. Like I fight this weekend, man. I plan to win, but guess what? I'm probably gonna get punched. I'm probably gonna get kicked and kneed and elbowed and cut and bleed. And hey, man, that's what this sport is about. But 7 years in the UFC fighting the top fighters in the world, that shit wears on you and it ages you quick.
So, by the way, before we go to the next topic, I just feel like at the end of the day, maybe it won't even be a walk in the park, but Ian Garry is so skilled. I'm kind of rooting for him for the same reason. Some people may say he's cringy, this and that, but he's exciting.